Hey everyone, welcome to the Faith and Fandom Podcast. This is Hector coming fresh off the heels of Fayetteville Comic Con Spring Show 2023. And, hi, welcome to the circus. That's a terrible catchphrase intro thing. I've never actually worked on that, so I don't even know what I'm supposed to say at that. But you're here now, so tough luck. I don't know. All right, here we go. This is my first time back at Fayetteville Comic Con with a year off. Short version is the last time I did Fayetteville Comic Con, I burned myself out because I overdid it. I thought I could do too much, and I thought I could juggle all the things, and it turns out I have short arms, and I can't reach all the things I was trying to juggle. So it was not very functional for me to try and DJ and panel and run a booth at the same time. And I put that on me. That was my bad. Because I learned that I can't do everything. So, yeah. Either way, this was my first time back after a year off. And it wasn't like I was trying to take a year off. I also, as aforementioned, I DJ. And I was booked for weddings for the last 2 times the con happened. So I really couldn't do it. This was my first year back, and outside of my normal contribution to the Nerd Slam, it was just me in the booth, so that was nice. But yeah, it was good to be back. A couple things in mind for context. This is the Artist Alley Aftermath, meaning we're going to be talking about just what went down on the show floor, behind the scenes, and in the process of Fayetteville Comic Con. This show became a tribute to Jason David Frank shortly after his passing in late 2022. The show was dedicated to him, so it had a very heavy Power Rangers focus, and it also partnered with the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, if I said that acronym right. And so with that came the concept of bringing in his daughter, Jenna Frank, who is also in a movie with him, White Dragon. And she's a musician of her own right. And also bringing in a ton of Power Rangers guests. And so the whole con took a Power Rangers turn and focus. And so that was something neat to see play out. And this was Fayetteville's first time of putting together a concert the day before the show. So the show started, the actual con floor portion of the show started on Saturday. But on Friday night, there was a comic concert, which obviously great branding with that. The comic concert happened, and it featured a DJ. It featured Jenna Frank coming out and doing a couple songs and hyping up the crowd. And then it really kicked off with Mia Asano, who is, I'm going to double check her name as I'm actually saying that, because I always want to not fail at that. But Mia Asano is a violinist who is just kind of gangster about what she does. Very young Lindsay Sterling vibes. She performed like the Halo theme mashed with Duel of Fates from Star Wars. She performed the Power Rangers theme, the Pokemon theme, just a lot of nerdy stuff, but also just performed some original things and did some kind of heavy metal vibes with her violin as well. 10 out of 10 would recommend. I would absolutely watch her in concert anytime I had the opportunity. That was a really fun experience and surprisingly fantastic. So Mia Asano killed it. I really, really did enjoy her. Up next was Fear State, which is friends of mine. It is Bernie and a couple other people from the Dragon's Lair, which is a comic shop it's the comic shop I buy my comics at. And so Bernie has a band called Fear State, named after the horrible Batman comic book run. And I've gone to see them before, but bottom line, these guys are people I'm connected with. I enjoy them, and they're just fun rock. The majority covers. They do have some originals, but it's a really wide range of ages because you've got a 16-year-old nephew on the drums. You've got a young grandson on I think the bass or the rhythm guitar. Then you've got two other people on guitars. No, you've got another dude on lead guitar. So the grandson is rhythm. There's a soldier, I'm presuming, that's lead guitar, and then Bernie, the leader of the band, is the bass player, and they also have a vocalist, and they just put on a old school rock show, very 70s 80s vibes, but doing like Fight for Your Right to Party and Enter Sandman, stuff like that. And Bernie is a veteran rocker though, so he puts on some good theatrics. Like at one point in time, he got down off the stage and ran up 2 flights of stairs to get to the balcony so he could play his bass from the balcony. And so if you look on my photos, you'll see some pictures of that. I don't think I put those on Faith and Fandom, but they're on my I don't even know if they're on my Instagram. Either way, they're on my personal Facebook page. I should probably put those on Instagram too. But they just did a great job. I've seen what they do, and they do great work. And again, they're another band that if I can see them, I will, to support, but also just because it's fun music. Then was Echo Stone. I'd never heard of them, but they were probably the tightest production, well done, polished band. I feel like when I was watching Echo Stone that I was seeing a band that is somebody's favorite band. But I just haven't discovered them yet. They were talented. They were, charismatic with the crowd, good interactions. They switched it up halfway through and did an acoustic cover of Iris from Goo Goo Dolls on green guitars in memory of Jason David Frank. So that was neat. And there were what looked like a youth group in the front row for their concert. So neat. And then lastly was September Morning, and had kind of a very theatrical anime demon vague fight against light and dark horror vibe. Like if Lady Gaga did a rock opera about darkness versus light with the 2 guitarists and drummers in black Jedi robes. Very, very theatrical. And they had motion video and everything behind their behind the screens behind them. And so their stuff played out as a story, like they were doing the audio to a graphic novel. And I do think they have a graphic novel of their story. So cool concept, very theatrical. And it was just a good experience. I feel like our crowd was getting tuckered out by the time Echo Stone was done. But I understand, you want to give everybody the best opportunities. I just feel like it's getting kind of late, yo. But I'm also 42 or 41. I got another month or 3 weeks for 42. But I was like, hey, we tired, bro. We getting old. But everybody I saw had a good experience. It was a good time. And one of the neat things was the musicians had tables at the con on Saturday. So you can go talk to them. I didn't get a chance to go do it. I would have gotten some merch from me at Asano. But either way, that was a neat aspect that you could just go meet the bands throughout the weekend as well. On a logistical scale, I feel like that would have been better done to do that Saturday night so they could meet them Saturday before the show and then meet them Sunday afterwards. But I digressed. I'm not running the show, so it's just, I thought it was pretty neat with that. So yeah, let's talk about some stuff that happened. I've got a big production list of some things to talk about. So this is not going to be in chronological order of what happened throughout the show. I'm just going to hit some highlights. So first off, before I ever got to the show, there were people, I'm not going to say complaining, but there were people commenting on the con schedule, that they were moderately sad to disappointed to regretful that Geek Church wasn't happening. I was not my prompting. I didn't say anything to trigger that. I didn't even like or comment on the post. But, it made me moderately happy that people missed Geek Church happening. I understand the show's got a lot of stuff going on, and like I said, I've got to learn to pace myself and not try and do everything anyway. But, it made me glad that Geek Church was missed, and actually had about, let me not do pastor numbers and pump things up. Looks like we had about 3 people also come by the booth asking if it was happening. One family showed up Sunday morning at like 11:30, and they said, "Did Geek Church happen?" No? Okay, good, because we would have been mad if it happened and we missed it. And so, again, I thought it was neat. I'm glad it's something that people care about and connect with, and that means a lot to me in that capacity. So Geek Church happening was a big deal. Not happening was a big deal, but it also means it's a big deal when it does happen. One of the things that really is just a fun bananas story that happened was there at con food is its own animal, for better or for worse, you're locking people in a room for up to 8 hours, and so there's not a lot of food options. And so there's people selling cookies for like $5 a pop that are really decorated and fancy. There's people like food trucks. There's different stuff like that. But one of the things is there was a bakery called Bakeology 910, which is our area code if you're not from around here, that specialized in macarons, that had different themes and flavors and imagery printed on them. That went along with nerdy things. Now, I'll say this. They were fair price to begin with. Most macarons run you about $2 to $2.50 a piece, and these were $2 each. Now, if you're hearing me and you're saying the wrong word, it's macaroon. There's a difference. A macaron is a sandwich cookie made from rice flour. A macaroon is a cookie that is made with coconut that is not a sandwich cookie. So, fight me. All right. But I saw those macarons, and I really wanted some, but budgetarily it was not the wisest choice for me just to spend my money on cookies in the middle of a show. 6 o'clock rolls around, show's over, everybody's about to go home, and somebody peeks their head from around the corner in one of the empty aisles. All the customers have gone. It's just the vendors and artists left, and somebody yells, "Free macarons." And I kid you not, like 50 artists and vendors, including myself, took off running like it was the video to Bombs Over Baghdad. I literally Naruto ran down a hall, down the hall with my arms behind me, trying to outrun other vendors, just for the sheer giggle of it. But it was fun. And we got there, and I'm not kidding, dude. They probably gave away 1,000 macarons. They said, take everything. Because I guess they had made a lot, hoping that they would be successful for them in that capacity. And you never know with shows, right? It's just, you never know. And so they had more than they could take with them, and they wouldn't be good for later in the week or whatever. And I took home a dozen. But I saw people literally walking away with like 48 and 50 at a time. I only got 2 of those dozen, but whatever. Just literally, it's not one of those phrases you expect to hear, is to hear free macarons. And then, as I'd gotten my dozen and I had to stop and say, am I being greedy? Am I being gluttonous? Okay, I should walk away. There still was more than the people could take. And so I asked the dude, would you like me to go yell? So I walked to the far end, the other side of the convention center, and I politely told the people beside me, hey, listen, I'm going to yell. All right. Don't be scared. And I yell, free Macarons at the top of my lungs. And then the other half of the people who didn't take off Naruto running, then like Dragon Ball Z instant transmissioned across the convention center to get cookies. And it was literally like people stopped packing up. They stopped trying to go home. They just wanted free fancy cookies. And I thought that was hilarious. So that was one of the super positive moments of the show. A negative moment. You know me. If you know me, you know I am not consistently negative or a fan of being negative. But I have a negative story to tell. So I'm going to say this with grace. There was a dude at the show who's a belt vendor, like a wrestling belt vendor. And if you're familiar with me, which you probably are if you're listening to this, you know I've got a wrestling belt with me at my booth right now and in life because this is my 10th year of doing Faith and Fandom. And my kids got me a wrestling belt for Christmas. They had, that was their gift of my own money. But, that was what they wanted. So I designed it, had it made, and it's very, very special to me. Like I've been having people sign it and autograph it since 2023 began, and the back is full of signatures already. So, this dude holding these two big wrestling belts come over to my table, and he's looking at my belt. He looks at me with utter disdain in his voice and says, "You could have done better." I'm like, "Excuse me, sir?" He's like, "With that belt, you could have done better." I'm like, "What exactly do you mean, sir?" He's like, "That's not a good belt. These belts, I make these belts, and these belts are expensive, and this one costs $650, literally, and this one costs over $1,000. These are good quality belts. What's that belt?" I was like, I could have told him the story of, it was a gift from my children or whatever else, but I didn't feel the need to defend that. I was like, "Okay, sir." And he could tell I was getting visibly angry. Like, I stopped talking because I was at that point weighing which options would cause the most damage with the least amount of repercussions. I didn't do anything, but my heart was like, I've got batarangs in my wallet. How hard would a Death Star candle feel if you got hit with it in the eyeball? Just everything in me was like, dude, I will jack up your poo-poo if you do not get out of my Kool-Aid right now. But like, this dude literally was trying to bully me into buying a better quality belt from him. And that's a party foul. I was like, on what planet do you think that walking up to somebody's booth and bullying them about the things that they have is a functional way to create sales? And I raged internally for about the better part of an hour about that. And I try not to hold on to anger, but I was like, that dude disappointed me as a human. And I wanted to go find his booth and go over and say some words and, retaliate. But I was like, that's not who I am. That's not what I'm going to do. That doesn't accomplish what I want to accomplish here. So I'm going to let it go. But man, in my flesh, all thick, fluffy pounds of my flesh wanted to literally take that dude over to the wrestling ring that was at the con and, pull out my best Mick Foley on him. It's where I wanted to be. But whatever, that didn't happen. So that's one of my negative stories. That guy disappointed me as a vendor, as an artist, as a person. Part of me wanted to go find his booth and tell the con director not to let that guy back and that he was harassing people. And I may. who knows? But either way, I did not enjoy that person. So if you want to have a nice little I'm not always nice, that was a not always nice moment for me. One, you don't just insult people's stuff, period. But two, the fact it's a sentimental gift for me. It's an anniversary gift for me. It's a present for my children. Bro, you don't know what you're talking about when you talk negatively about someone else's stuff, which is one of the main reasons why, like, I don't believe in, like, negative evangelistic tactics, because you are doing more damage than good. And I did not enjoy that human. Carry on, my wayward son. Sandwich that back with a good story. There was a young man who came by my booth in a really well done Jedi robe ensemble outfit. Now, this young man was a bigger gentleman, like myself, and it was really neat to see well done Jedi robes for a bigger dude. Listen, they were nice robes for a small dude too, but like, I don't see a lot of larger gentlemen cosplaying Jedis with actual functioning robes and costumes. And he even had like a really cool design put on the back. And, you know, I just started talking to him about, his favorite Star Wars stuff. And we just started having a conversation, and, you know, and I told him, you know, we talked about Star Wars for like a solid 10 minutes, probably just Star Wars. And, then we got on the conversation about, you know, spiritual encouragement, and we talked about Jesus. And, so I was like, dude, what's your favorite? Like, what's your favorite thing? And he said that, he was telling me about which Star Wars was his favorite. So I was like, look, here's book 5. And I gave it to him because it had, not Return of the Jedi, but, The Last Jedi. That's one of the things that he enjoyed. So I was like, look, here's a chapter. There's a chapter on The Last Jedi in here. You've been a blessing to talk to. Here, just take a book. And he's, you know, we had a good conversation with that. And I was like, look, here's my card. You can read all of these devotionals for free on our website. Not just this one, but like, you can go click Star Wars and get Mandalorian and Clone Wars. I was like, yada, 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 yada. I gave him the pitch about that. And so then he stopped. He's like, no, I'm going to buy this book and I'm going to buy this. But I was like, dude, I wasn't trying to tell you this to buy stuff. But like, he just like went on to tell me how important this was, and that this was the kind of stuff that he wished he would have known existed previously, which has been a theme throughout the whole weekend, is people saying that they wish stuff like this existed prior, or they wish they knew about it. And he went on to, like, just be really blessed, and he got a couple extra books with that. And, it was a big blessing, with that. And I was genuinely encouraged from that interaction. Now, I think that interaction happened before the wrestling belt thing, but the Jedi interaction really helped me feel established and good and solid about the weekend. Just like, if that would have been the only conversation I had, I would have been felt valid in being there the whole weekend. Wasn't, but yeah, I would have felt valid in that capacity. So I enjoyed that. I really did. And that was a moment that really blessed my soul. And one of my friends who had stopped by the booth was sitting at the booth, like just behind the t-shirt rack or whatever, watching this interaction happen. And they were like straight grinning at like seeing me in full passion tilt mode, because like y'all are listening to this, so you know that I get passionate about things, but there's a different level of passion that comes out of me when I'm talking about the depth of a good story and how it relates to Jesus and faith. Like, that's a whole other level. And my friend had never seen that before, like in person. And so they were just like, that was crazy. So good experience. Jedi guy was great. Another cool experience is I am friends with a dude name, I'll use his stage name, Dex Carter. He owns Ring Wars Carolina. He didn't own Ring Wars Carolina when I met him, but he does now. He also runs Born Elite Enterprises. That's also a new thing. But he's a friend of mine. He came by the booth, and one of his wrestling promoters, planners was looking at my belt because he said that's exactly what they were planning for their Intercontinental Championship type belt. And so he came by the booth and he signed the belt. We took some photos. You can see a photo of us on all of my socials. And, he signed the belt. We talked and just talked about promoting, partnering on different stuff and everything. Because dude has a great heart. Maybe a year ago, we were both at the same event before he had his wrestling promotion, before he had any of that. And he just walked up to me and gave me a donation because he said he really believed in what I was doing. And that's always been an encouragement to me. So I know this dude invests where he goes. So that was really cool. But on Sunday afternoon, he ended up bringing like almost his entire wrestling team out to the con. And two of the wrestlers that were there are my daughter Carmen's favorite wrestlers. We went to go see Dex's wrestling outfit and Fear State at a wrestling event in Lumberton a few months back. And it was cool and all, but you identify with people that remind you of you, or the hero thing. My daughter Carmen saw two ladies come out and wrestle, and that's been one of her favorite things. One of the ladies' names is Amanda Kiss, and the other is Audrey Allen. And so Audrey has this tough persona, this gritty mechanic vibe. And at the first wrestling match I saw with her, with my daughter, she pulled out a giant wrench and hit Amanda Kiss in the ribs. And my daughter Carmen has loved that. She thought it was, obviously it's violent. I followed them on socials, and I saw I saw Audrey on Instagram eating one of the macarons from Bakeology. And I was like, hey, are you here? Because I would love to get a picture with you for my daughter, etc. So she told me she was in line for the Power Rangers, which was appreciative because, every random dude in your Instagram doesn't need to know your location. But she told me where she was. I got a picture with her. But then after the Nerd Slam panel, she came by my booth. And she was there with Dex and some other folks as well. And, tough lady, tattoos, muscles, dreads, gauges. I mean, she's about as gangster gets. And as she's standing there looking at my booth, because I told her previously, I was like, hey, if you want some stickers or some candles, come on by, I'll hook you up. As she's standing there, she looks down at my table, stoic, sturdy, strong. And then out of nowhere, this is probably one of my favorite moments, like it's seared in my brain. She cracks the biggest smile, squeals, covers her mouth a little bit, and then starts dancing like up and down, like an excited kid that just got candy or something. And she points down at my tables, Veggie Tales! And I'm dying. She points at everybody's got a water buffalo and, oh, where's my hairbrush? And she literally dances. And then Amanda, her partner in crime, also freaks out about Veggie Tales. And that's one of the funniest things to me. I did my Larry voice for them. That these two wrestlers, these two ladies that are, physically strong and rawr, are standing at my table at a Comic Con geeking out over Veggie Tales. And I don't remember how the transition got onto it, but we were talking about Amanda really liked Star Wars, and I asked her what her favorite Star Wars was, which was one of the questions I usually ask when talking about stuff. And she said that she really loved Clone Wars and Ahsoka. And I said, here's book 7. Take it. There's an Ahsoka chapter on church. I was like, when Ahsoka was kicked out of the Jedi Order, she's like, I know, I love that story. It's like, here's a chapter on when she was kicked out of the Jedi Order. And she also asked for a Jesus loves you, but don't be a douche sticker. And so I hooked them up some stickers and a book. And I literally started all those conversations with them because I just wanted to get a picture for my daughter because she's a fan, because we're going to see them again in May. And it turned into just a time where seeing someone tough get soft and sentimental over Veggie Tales but also the fact that it could lead to a conversation where we could really talk just about, what we kind of lack and what we miss. And Amanda was one of the ones that said that she wished that she had had something like this when she was growing up or when we were a kid. And Audrey said that, the people around that she grew up with were like judgmental, destructive, negative about everything. And I told them both, I was like, that's why I did this, because this didn't exist for me and I wanted it to exist for other people. So that was an incredible encouragement for me. I really loved that. One of my favorite cosplays, just a total transition. There was a young lady dressed like Mario carrying around a pipe shooting out a bullet bill. There's pictures of that on my Instagram and everything, but that was great. There was also a lot of people that I knew were at the show that I didn't get to see that I wanted to see. My friend Amy Deletry, if I butchered your name, like she was like a row over from me and I didn't realize it until later. Totally missed her. My friend Nathan Pierce, just like people that I knew were there, like, but that's the thing. Local people really usually aren't there for me. It's the people that are further, but I got to miss some people that I wanted to see, but it's always the great thing about con. You get more chances, hopefully. Did Nerd Slam again for 2 days, and I phrased a question poorly, asking a question about Demon Slayer, and a woman in the audience got up and started berating, and she was very, very passionate. Now, here's the deal. I didn't mind her anger or her vigor. I minded the wrestling belt dudes because he was malicious intent. This lady was trying to make sure that I didn't short someone by giving them the wrong question. But it was still very funny to see this one little lady stand up in the middle of the whole room, command the room over the people with the microphones, and put me in my place in my knowledge. So yeah, that was a thing. But a young woman named Bet won the Nerd Slam this year for her knowledge of the It crowd, which was fun because I've never seen anybody compete in the It crowd like that before too. So that was pretty cool. Another neat experience was a dude was walking by my table, as so many people do, and he stopped and he started looking at my candles. If you've seen my candles lately, I have D20s, Death Stars, BB-8s, and a PlayStation controller candle. And this dude looked at my PlayStation controller candles and he just kind of like stroked his beard for a good minute. And the short version of it was he runs a gaming lounge and he thinks he can sell these things. So this dude bought all of my PlayStation controller candles and all of my D20 candles. Now, I did sell them to him at a discounted price because he was buying so many. But I think I sold 20 candles in one swoop, and that's freaking dope. So that was great. I was pretty excited about that. On another negative, and this isn't a con thing, but it happened at the con because life doesn't slow down. I'm on the board for a camp, Camp Grace, and I love Camp Grace, and this is not a negative towards Camp Grace. But a supporter of Camp Grace had mistakenly saw a post from someone else and thought it was mine. That post used profanity. And this guy thought that post was mine. And so he told the camp director, I'm not going to support your camp ministry anymore. I'm not going to allow my kids to go there anymore. And apparently also had negative things to say about me and my church and everything else. All because he didn't know the difference between one page and another. And, literally this guy was willing to hurt a ministry that ministers to thousands of people because he thought I used one profanity on social media, and he wouldn't talk to me about it. Like, the camp director had told him to talk to me about it, and he wouldn't. So eventually, after much hemming and hawing, I got the guy's number and I called him directly and I addressed him. I had to. So one of the folks that attends another location of my church congregation was at my booth when this was happening, and I was like, "Look, can you just stand here?" Uh, and let me go make a phone call. So I walked out behind the food trucks in the rain Saturday morning, and called this person and said, "Hi, sir. I understand you have a problem with me and I wanted to address it." That's not me. I didn't do that. And I spent the next 5 minutes politely trying to, explain to him that he had made a mistake and that I don't do that and I didn't do that. And it resolved. Short version is he should have said something to me personally, and they shouldn't have judged so poorly. But also, it just made, I didn't think about it much at all on Saturday because I was too busy. Now, Saturday night when I got home from the con, it hit me hard and I got really angry, honestly. And I was like, I'm going to quit the board of this ministry and all these other things. And then I was like, I'm going to go to sleep because I'm obviously grumpy. But it was just so crazy that, because someone misread Facebook, they were willing to literally burn down the world over something so trivial. And it's just one of those things. And it also goes the crazy to show how easily, appearances and stuff can just flatline stuff. And so it was like not something I wanted to start my con day out with. And it really kind of threw, that whole experience in, and I had lots of feelings about it, but it's just, it was just it's not how I wanted to start my con day, because I had to smile and talk to everybody else for the rest of the day after going through that. But I will say this, it was nice that people from my church stopped by my booth, even if the world was on fire, and he watched my booth and didn't go crazy. And then another young man from my church who has only been part of my church for about, say 4 months. 4 months. And he told me he wanted to come to this con. He was sending me messages before he got there. And he asked me when it closed and everything. And so he came up to the booth and he was just so excited over everything. And he freaked out. He's like, "You really wrote all these books and stuff." And I ended up just giving him all the books that he wanted. And it was a blessing. So it's like, again, for every negative, there was a nice little wave of blessings in ministry. But it doesn't always make all the negative hard, especially when I don't have time to mentally process or do that. And I'll say this too, having friends in and out of the booth on Saturday was really helpful. Being at the booth Sunday alone was not good for me. And I got to remember that I'm not always good alone. Especially after a long weekend like that. Sunday was a harder day for me because of that. It was also cool to see Kyle and Eric and their families from the What the What podcast. This is What the What. I don't want to flip over my laptop and jack up my microphone, but yeah, I think it's the What the What podcast. If not, y'all forgive me. But I think it's the What the What podcast. Yeah, it was also neat to see the Brothers Boyd, which if you're from our area at all, you've noticed that the Brothers Boyd, they are like interviews and a booth and a YouTube channel, and they just hit over 550 subscribers on their YouTube channel. These are guys that have been basically single-handedly becoming the coverage of cons in our region for a hot minute. And it was really neat at one point in time. The show director got on the overhead, "I need the Brothers Boyd to come to this." So I was excited for them. They're always just really cool and kind when it comes to stuff, and they're a fixture, and they've made themselves almost inseparable from the con culture in this area. So that's pretty neat. Yeah, the Brothers Boyd were cool. The Eric and Kyle, it was good to talk to them and their families, and just to see them again. I DJ'd the Creech's wedding a little while back. It's not even been that long. And it was just neat. But I got to DJ a wedding from people I met at the con. So it's a neat experience with that. Let's see. Going down the list. Another thing too, I wore my Fangirling Over Jesus Doctor Who 12th Doctor jersey both days at the show. And Sunday, because I was alone, I got the idea for a River Song jersey, and I sketched out a River Song jersey and sent it to Ashley over at Fangirling at Jesus, over Jesus, so that, you know, maybe she could not make me a River Song jersey, but make a River Song jersey in general. So, yeah, that was pretty cool. Also, Silver City, Drinks was in the house at Fayetteville Comic Con. And, they're the people that if you buy a metal cup from them, you get free refills all day on drinks. And they've got like vanilla and root beer and orange and different. They've got like a bunch of different sodas, and usually, like, literally, it's like almost a half a gallon or something, or like a liter every time you get a cup. And I look forward to them a lot because they're one of the only ones that do a diet option. There's one in Charleston that does a great job over at Captain's Comic Expo, but they don't have any diet options, and I'm like literally high on sugar for the whole show. But this one has a diet option, so I was getting diet root beer the whole time. And like every 5-10 minutes, not every 5-10 minutes, probably every hour, I would get up on Saturday and go over to the booth. And I paid $15 to get unlimited drinks for Saturday because I already had my cup, so it was cheaper. And I would go up every hour and ask for a full cup of ice and then get drinks and refill it. And Sunday, I wasn't going to pay $15 again just because I didn't want to. And I also didn't want to listen to my flesh and just be like, man, you've already paid enough. Just go. You've got a cup, just go pull the handle and steal some root beer and get out of there. Because yes, I still had thoughts like that. And I was like, don't steal root beer. Don't steal root beer, dude. Don't do it. Like that TikTok sound. I'm not going to do it. I'm just thinking about it. I didn't want to steal root beer. So I got my cup. I went over to the booth and I went to the lady who was behind the booth. And I said, hi, ma'am. I did not pay for refills for today. But could I have some water? Because they had a water spout on the thing. And I was just trying to get permission to get water on their thing without asking. I didn't want to do it without asking. And the lady looked at me. She's like, oh, you're that annoying effer that kept getting ice all day yesterday. So I go to get water and the lady cusses at me, but she did it with a smile, took my cup, filled my cup with ice, and told me to go ahead. Again, how we treat people matters. She was like funny and aggressive, but not mean. And I appreciated that. Because I was like, this lady just cussed at me, but I didn't feel bad about it. And so I was like, okay, that's an interesting life scenario. But, I appreciated it because I wasn't dehydrated at that point because I drank a large amount of water and no soda. So there's a win for that. Also, it was freezing cold Sunday at the show. Like, so cold it actually caused the artwork on my wrestling belt on one of the panels to start bubbling up because it was so cold it was separating from the belt. It was so cold that I saw a lady at a booth near me go to a different booth, pay $40 for a blanket from that booth just so she could cover herself up at the booth. I appreciate trying to keep us conditioned, and I know they had the doors open for food trucks, but sweet victory. It was so cold. I was literally shivering, and I was mad. I'd gotten a new hoodie in the mail Saturday night, and I could have worn it Saturday, but I thought it's going to be warm. I don't need to wear it to the show. I was so wrong. But yeah, other thing that I was just going to say is that also there was a lot of live tattooing on the floor. And I had several people come by the booth that got tattoos on the floor there the day at the show. And that's just bananas to me. So, yeah. That's a lot. It was a good weekend at Fayetteville. I haven't counted money or anything per se, but I know based on solely on what came in through my Square account that at least the booth costs were covered through sales, even though things were given away. So that was a win and a blessing for me. And I'm grateful for that. That was, that the cost, like, it wasn't a loss for my family. And with that, and that the money that our Patreon supporters gave was able to really just be helpful and be a blessing in that capacity. On that note, I do want to thank our Patreon supporters. Ron Poteet is a new pledge. Tesh Norton, Scott Ward, Alicia Benson, Candace Davis, Jay Sheed, Jillian, Jason Crutchfield, Michelle Byers, Mike Perna, Todd Turner, Jonathan Jacobs, Corey Bezzo. Oh, I'm on the wrong list. Active. Boop. Sorry. Some of those are different. John Jake, Zach Harris, Caleb Grimm, Jeanette Skaggs, Chris Poirier, Jason Bullock, Christina Ray, Sarah Lewis, Patrick Gale, Rebecca Godlove, and Adam Davis. Thank you all for your gracious, generous contributions, because you helped make every good conversation that happened this weekend happen. You helped make all the things that were sold, purchased, and the materials to make candles were made, for books to be published, for people editing our books now. Like, you're making all that possible, so I'm grateful for you. And if any of you have a desire to be a part of supporting Faith and Fandom on a Patreon level, you can go to patreon.com/faithandfandom. And another really cool thing, let me add in here for this. My friend Louis Serrano, who wrote the graphic novel comic book of Samson, has very strong, really good retelling of Samson in a graphic novel format. He was actually on one of the panels with me at San Diego in 2019. He sent me a bunch of volume 1s of his book to give away for free. So everybody that was interested in talking at the booth, they also got a Samson graphic novel, which was really cool. So I am grateful for that as well, because that's just really neat. And I'm hoping it'll help spread the word about Lewis's book. Lewis is wrong. Yeah, I said my words wrong. But I hope spread word of that, and I will be doing some more promotion and stuff for that as well, because I really appreciate him and the way they've contributed to Faith and Fandom as well. But yep, that's my whole show notes. So I'm gonna go adult and do a small group with some folks from my church and get ready. I will be at the Fayetteville Dogwood Festival Friday night for a author spotlight thing. And then we're DJing a Con family's wedding this weekend as well. So big stuff all around. And look forward to hearing from y'all. If you have any comments, please comment. You can also email me at faithandfandom@gmail.com. And hit me up on the socials, Discord, wherever else. And thank you for listening. Wherever you listen, do me a favor and subscribe, rate, like, share, do all those things. And I hope you have a great day.